Good morning, dear friends. I will continue the subject of domination. As I mentioned briefly, domination played its role in the process of evolution of life. Sometimes it was present, sometimes it was not. And it was important that for the leading male to spread his genes around, because they were probably what was born from it could be better suited for survival and development than others. So it doesn't sound for us morally very nice, but it played its role. It even played its role in the beginning of stratification. Not that stratification doesn't exonerate stratification, but it played its rational role. So, for example, the leader, usually the leader who lead the wars, etc., battles, if it was suitable for that, physically agile and strategically also good, it made sense. It made sense. In the case of the domination of at this time, of the richer and more poor, it was pure, it didn't have particularly important role, except that since it was more or less connected with the emerging social structure, a role of his role, it always was a male, was protected by the system. No matter how primitive the system was, his role was protected, and the rebel against this role, like slave rebels or peasants rebels, were very ruthlessly and cruelly and suppressed. Suppressed. However, there was an interesting thing which didn't play any role. That is the role of inheritance. The son or sons of the chief not necessarily were suitable to be chiefs, but due to patriarchal, let's say, pride, they were his successor. Even less it made sense as far as the inheriting of the wealth was concerned. What particularly good or important or clever could be of the son? Usual, as far as the beginning was always son, it was strict patriarchy. Later on, when developed various monarchies, we could see the completely failure of the system because the successor was very often a debile and caused lots of trouble. Nevertheless, system continues. Well, the monarchies are basically, they're important. It's gone, the theatrical things. And, well, some of these monarchs are decent people. They don't, however, have much influence, with the exception of few Islamic countries like Saudi Arabia and Sultan of, how forgot this little country. I will write it down. It is somewhere inside of Indonesia. It's some sultan who has lots of oil there, and he is obviously a complete ruler of this thing. And that is the absurd of the domination, particularly now. Particularly when the now sons or sometimes daughters of a very rich person inherit their fortune. Why? Because they happens to be born as children of this rich person. It plays zero role in anything except that it is accepted. It's completely accepted that that's the way the things are. I would like you to contemplate for a moment the absurdity of it. Something which plays no role except of creating, reinforcing and maintaining the domination, in this case, domination of wealth. As far as political system, it not necessarily genetic aspect plays a role, like children of a president of United States of America not necessarily and rarely are presidents. So from that point of view, this nonsense is eradicated. From politics, the genetic inheritance is not really of important issue, except of just monarchy like Saudi Arabia, etc. But that's important. That's a very nuisance and dangerous country, but it doesn't, on the global scale, is not really very important. So this whole thing of domination based on wealth is incredibly absurd. Domination based on politics and is absurd, but because the elected leaders are elected because of not their leadership quality, but various manipulation, money, media, etc. So this whole thing is fully degenerated. Nevertheless, there is majority of politicians, economists, and various other scientific people think that it is good and it is not only unavoidable, but the best what human race so far made. I dare to disagree, and I say, without any moral aspect, it's absurd. It's absurd, and this absurdity is not only absurdity of in a sense of logical, nobody proves that it is correct or incorrect, but this absurdity contributes to the generation of the system, the now liberal capitalism, its favorite thing, or now emerging populism, nationalism. The words are changing and ideas are changing. Marxism is out of fashion, so that's what it is more or less left. And various dictatorialships which are of growing on a global scale importance, like Russia have a dictator, China de facto. It's in a oligarchy, but usually the top of oligarch, which is chairman or a president, is essentially a dictator, and it does not allow to be removed only when it's very, very old, when it is past its octogenarian, maybe steps away to replace, but oligarchy replaces by another dictator. So that's the domination, dear friends. That's how it is. And I suggest a alternative, but it seems that an alternative, reasonable alternative, which will remove stratification and this absurd of which is based on domination, would be better than what it is. Okay? So that probably closes the. I have nothing more to say about the issue of domination. We can close the subject, and next time we'll, I don't know what it will be, but something quite different. Well, nothing is different because, nothing is really different because it has always something to do, when we talk about our world, something to do with money. Something must to do with money. Not necessarily politics, but money. Politics is subservient to money. So I can say that it is independent of this subject. So, as French say, à la prochaine. Goodbye.